First time it happened was in school, during fourth period English class. Miss Coleman arrived to class, late as usual, carrying her signature leather bag. She bent down to put it on the floor and took her seat, before looking back up to the class. I did a double take when I saw her face. She had a great big stain splashed across her head. It was some kind of dark brown, coppery colored blotch dried onto her temple. She went about taking out her books as if she didn't have some sort of curry stain or something crusted onto her forehead. I went from amused to worried when I looked around to see literally nobody else reacting to it either. I leaned over to the guy sitting next to me. "Hey dude," I said, "are you seeing this?" "Seeing what?" "The thing on her face, man," I chuckled. He stared back at me as if I had three heads. Realizing that clearly no one else could see what I saw, I dropped it. I went home, freaking out slightly. Maybe it was a trick of the light, or some kind of optical thing, but it stayed there on her face throughout the whole class. The next day, I returned to school, only to be called to an assembly with the entire student and staff population. The principal came out to break the news to us. Miss Coleman had committed suicide the previous night. It wasn't until later, when I heard the cause of death was a gunshot to the head, did I really start to panic. We were sent home for the rest of the day, and I walked out of school with a cold, sick feeling in my chest. Eventually, my parents came home, and just as I was starting to pull all of that out of my head, my dad walked through the door. He stumbled back when I let out an involuntary scream of terror. Mom and Dad just stared at me. Covering the entire of his front overalls was a large, deep, red stain smeared across his stomach and torso. I could tell by their reactions that neither of them could see it either. I immediately ran to my room with my parents close behind. Panicked, they asked me what was going on. I just pointed at Dad's overalls. He looked down. "What is it?" he asked. He rubbed his hand over the stain as if it wasn't there. I just kept gawking in terror. "Maybe we should call a doctor," my mom said. "How about we just let you get a good night's rest, buddy?" Dad told me reassuringly. I didn't sleep the entire night. When morning finally came, I begged Dad not to go to work, but of course he still went. Mom booked an appointment with our doctor before heading off to work also. I stayed home from school, and between fits of sweaty anxiety, I would call Dad's cell phone constantly to check in on him. The day crawled by, and eventually Mom arrived in the door. "Dad must be working late," she said. I immediately called his cell, with no answer. A little later, from the kitchen, I heard Mom take a phone call. Before she even said hello, my blood was already running cold and I was already crying. A few seconds later, she was sobbing even harder than I was. I didn't bother going into the kitchen. It was a freak accident. He was working on a car at the garage and something went wrong. The car had collapsed and crushed him. The following days and the funeral were like a nightmarish fever dream. Everything went by in slow motion. I felt limp and numb. Once home from the funeral, I went to the bathroom, and then I saw it. As I washed my hands and looked up into the mirror, there it was. A big red stain tracking all the way around my neck. Sobbing in horror for what it felt like a millionth time, I stumbled down the stairs to Mom, who was curled up in an armchair, sniffling. I tried explaining, but how could I? "Please stop this," Mom asked, crying. "You're just confused." "Mom, please stop," she begged. "It's going to happen to me," I cried. "Stop," she sobbed. This was last night. As I write this, the stain is still there. I'm not sure what's gonna happen next, but I've made arrangements for my aunt to come take care of my mom once I'm gone. In any case, I write this account in hopes that it may help some of you out there. If you begin to see stains on people that no one else can, warn them before it's too late.